Roy, do you want an introduction, or are you going to introduce yourself? Because we've got to mic you up.
No, thanks very much. Hi. Good afternoon. Welcome. Wasn't that a great session you've just had? Yeah? Give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. What do you think of my cravat? Yeah? What do you think? Yeah? It matches my eyes, somebody said. Yeah, I know. Well, in case you're wondering who I am, I used to be the chairman of a hospital. I used to be the chairman of a health authority. I used to be the leader of my local council. I used to be the mayor of where I lived. I used to be the youngest person ever to run a public company in Britain. So I'm a sort of professional has-been, really, that comes out on occasions like this, and they film the gaps between me and the good stuff, or the good stuff and me, whichever way around it is. So much so, I was at a conference the other day. A woman came up to me and she said, are you here for the health conference? I said, I am. She said, I thought I recognised you. Didn't you used to be somebody? Which I thought was terrific. Anyway, look, we've got half an hour to fill up. What do you want to do? You want jokes? Yeah. Okay. Guy walks into an A&E and sits down. A nurse walks by. He said, here, hello, nurse. He said, I was here 3 years ago. She said, you wait your turn like everybody else. Right. Okay. Anything else? Striptease? What about, I feel like Elvis Presley, taking off one of the silks and saying, Anyway, what am I here to? Well, I mean, most people, I suppose, that stand on platforms like this talk about change, don't they? Really? At a time like this. Everybody stands on a platform and they say, the NHS has to change. Have you noticed that little bounce? You've probably seen it. The NHS has to change. The NHS has to change. Well, that's called anchoring in body language, and I'm a big student of body language. The little invisible signals that we give out that we don't realise we are. And someone says to you, yeah, the check's in the post. And they scratch their ear. That's called a tell, and it means they're lying. The check isn't in the post. Or if a guy says, one for the ladies here, a guy says, of course I love you. Of course I love you. Both shoulders, it's okay. When he says, of course I love you. One shoulder down, check him out at the office. He's up to something, I promise you. So if someone stands and says, the NHS has to change. That's called anchoring. And people do anchoring when they're talking, when they're not sure about what they're really saying. They don't really know what they're talking about. The NHS has to change. The NHS has to change. And they stick their arse out, don't they? Like that. That's because they're talking out of their arse, okay? The NHS has to change. From what to what? We have the most admired health service in the world. I travel the world talking about the health service. I was in Tehran just recently. The thing they want most of all is not nuclear power. They want a health service. And they want a health service like ours. And our health service was compared last year by the Commonwealth Fund. Now, the Commonwealth Fund is an American think tank. It's got nothing to do with the Commonwealth, and it's got nothing to do with the fund. I don't know why it's called that, but it's one of the most respected think tanks in the world. And it rated our health service, as the top health service in the world. Bangs for bucks and outcomes. Wow. So when they say the NHS has to change, what I'm now doing is I am grooming audiences up and down the country to respond. When someone says the NHS has to change, they shout, how? Right, so we'll have a little practice. Okay, here we go. The NHS has to change. How? No, that's not good enough. How? No, come on, how? How? Need a cup of tea, how? Right, let's get some welly into this, right? Right, here we go. Of course, the NHS has to change. No, I think you can do better. The NHS has to change. Oh, Jesus, that will frighten them shitless. That's a good idea, yes. So if anybody says the NHS has to change, you shout, exactly, because we've got the most respected health service in the world. Young or old, rich or poor, drug addict or granny, we'll scoop you up, fix you up, and send you home as best we can. We will put our backs into it. We will put our best into it. So what do you want to change? But it is true. it is true that we need to do a reality check. Because I tell you something, I'm going to let you into a little secret. You will gasp when I tell you this secret. Are you ready to gasp? Try and look a bit more gaspy, right? Okay, right. Gasp, gasp. Right, are you ready? I was born before the NHS. Let's try this side, okay. I was born before the NHS. Yeah, it's my younger side, isn't it, really? Yes. Let's try over here. I was born before the NHS. Yeah, well, yes. They've got the realists on this side. Must be the finance department on this side. Yeah, I was born before the NHS. My dad was a window cleaner. My mum was a shop worker. And they had to save up the equivalent of 3 weeks' wages in order to get someone who was called a midwife, who wasn't, but was called a midwife, to come in and deliver me. My mum had lost her first baby, so she was a woman at risk, but there was no possibility of me mum and I going into hospital because Dad couldn't afford it. So we were delivered at home. And there we are on the 23rd of June. Make a note, it's my birthday. Write this down. Please try and look at 23rd of June. Write it down. I would expect a card. I like whiskey and chocolates. Okay. 23rd of June, 1946. I was born in a very sweaty upstairs apartment in the East End of London. It was a very hot night. I was born at 9 o'clock at night, and my mum had been 12 hours in labour. No gas, no air. My mum said it was worth every minute. Good old mum. Now, 2 years later, of course, the then government introduced the National Health Service. It nationalised the existing infrastructure on the 5th of July 1948. Along came the NHS, and it took off the shoulders of working people the worry and the concerns of being ill, having an accident, getting a disease, maternity, all of that. For working people, it was a huge burden on their shoulders. And we had politicians in those days with some guts to actually step forward and change things. And so Bevan introduced the National Health Service. It was a defining moment, I think, in the history of our country. It was a noble political thing to do. And it changed everything. But in those days, the average working man lived until he was 67. Women live longer. And it's true today, women do live longer. And the reason for that is that men lead blameless lives and are taken unto our Lord early. You're sitting there saying you're having a no. 67, and the average working man went home for his lunch. Home for his lunch. Can you imagine? Home for his lunch. Things were very different. People died in hospital after a short illness. Now, of course, the world is a different place. People are in our hospitals and they're 80 and 90. My mum died last year. She was 95. She died in my arms in a hospice. It was a fabulous experience. But we got people in our hospitals now who've been in for weeks and we can't get them home because social services can't do their thing. And working in mental health services, you know exactly what the problems are in working with social care and all the difficulties that creates. So it's a very different world. And in being a different world, the NHS has to do something. It does have to respond. Because now it's common to have people in our hospitals, 80, 85, 90 years old, with 3 or 4 more comorbidities and costing us a fortune, and they're there for ages, but what the hell. But we've got to find a way of responding to them. And I think we have to be more nimble. We have to be more responsive. We do have to have a different look about the whole of the service. Now, what does that mean? Well, I have to tell you that I've been in the NHS since about 1974, when Florence Nightingale and I used to come to work on the number 5 bus and turn on the gas lamps and do the operations with a spray of Dettol and a sharp saw. And we do have to start thinking, about what it all looks like in the future. Because I've been around since 1974, and I can tell you I've seen 5 major reorganizations in the healthcare system. 5 major reorganizations, and God knows how many other different initiatives. I have just lost count. And I was an enthusiast for all of them. And I have to tell you, I'm going to confess something today, that since 1974, I've been standing on stages like this talking about change in the NHS, and I've spoken mostly bollocks. In fact, the truth is I've spoken total bollocks. Because I am that man who stood before that big table with the thing that you push the counters round. You say, Jerry's over here, RAF are over here. You know, I was one of those big strategic planners, and I've done the maps on the wall, and I've done the PowerPoint slide, you know, where somebody stands up on the stage and says, we're going to have a community bunion service, and we're putting the patient right at the middle of our services. And we have put all our other services all around it. And they've produced the donut slide. The donut slide. The patient's in the middle and all the existing services are arranged around there. No bugger's changed anything. They've all just turned up to a meeting and said, yeah, we're the community bunion service. Now, if you ever see anybody at a conference or in a meeting with a donut slide, you get up out of your seat. You step forward onto the stage and you stab them. It's not murder, it's called culling. It's getting rid of stinking thinking in the NHS. There's too much stinking thinking. You start with the patient and you work backwards. That's how you plan services. And that's the difficulty that we have today. How do we go about what we're doing? And I tell you what we do not do. You do not do what I have wasted my entire career in the NHS doing, and that is big strategic planning things. Because real change starts with you. Real change starts with you. It brings what you bring to work, changes what you do at work. How you go about your business. If your services are good enough for your family, they'll be good enough for mine. How many of you can say that? That's the single, simple, defining sentence. Is it good enough for my family? If it's not, don't do it. And for a long time now, I've thought, you know, I've had it all wrong, because it seems to me the real trick in these services is to protect the front line, fund it properly, and make it fun to work there. Make it fun to work there. I've had it all wrong for years. I used to think the patient was the most important person in what we do. That is not true. And you're sitting there thinking, Jesus, where is this going? Who is? You are. You are the most important people, because if you're not happy, if you're not well trained, if you don't come to work and have fun and enjoy what you do, you will make it hell for the people you look after. Our sole focus, our only purpose, the only thing that we should do is to protect the front line, fund it properly, and make it fun to work there. Wherever you work, whatever you do, whichever bit of the chain you are in providing services, whether you are in finance, in HR, communications, portering, whatever it is, you feed into the patient experience. You all have a part to play. And the one thing I've really learned, if you want to find out how to do things properly, if you want to find out how to do things well, if you want to find out how to do things better, you ask the people doing the job. The front line is the font of knowledge. The front line will tell you what's wrong or right with the services. The front line will tell you what we need to do more of and what to do less of. And that is why I started the Academy of Fabulous Staff, because I was so pissed off by the knobheads at the CQC coming round kicking the shit out of hard-working people and telling them they couldn't run a piss-up in a brewery. It pissed me off big time. Because you don't come to work to leave a drinking glass out of the reach of an elderly patient. Therefore, there aren't enough nurses. Therefore, there aren't enough nurses. There aren't enough managers doing the job properly. There aren't enough directors directing the organisation. The organisation isn't well led. Suddenly, the chief executive leads and you're all in the shit. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Any student of management will tell you, Edwards Deming back in 1969 said, do not rely on inspection as a lever for quality. Inspection does not deliver quality. You turn up and you inspect and it's good, you've wasted your time. You turn up and inspect and it's bad, it's too late. It's what we do every day. Quality is what happens when no one is looking. Quality is what happens when no one is looking at what you're doing. Quality is figuring out what we do, deciding if it's good enough, and putting things in place to make sure we do it all the time, every time, until we don't want it anymore. That's what quality is. And quality is knowing what is good. Because you come to work and you do your best with your knowledge and your understanding, and you put everything you've got into it, but hey, what about the fact that down the road somebody might be doing it better? Do you know? Of course you don't. I've always believed if you show people what good looks like, they'll get on and they'll do it better. But you've got to know what good looks like. It's about leadership. What do leaders do? What's the role of a leader? A leader creates the time and space for good people to do great things. And you can all do great things. You just have to know what it is you're supposed to be doing. You have to know what good looks like, and you can get on and do it better. And share it. The whole future of health service is sharing best practice, and there was no way of sharing best practice. So I started the Academy of Fabulous Stuff. And here to tell you about the Academy of Fabulous Stuff, please give a very warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Blonde.
Thank you. Okay, follow that, Blonde, with no swear words. My name's Terri Porrett, and I'm a nurse. My previous role was a nurse consultant, colorectal and stoma care. So obviously I can't do a presentation like that and stay on the register, so I'm not even going to try. So the Academy of Fabulous Stuff. I'm not sure. Is this... Yes. Is it working? Okay. The Academy of Fabulous Stuff is an opportunity for you as nurses to do something that you don't do very well. Nurses do things brilliantly. You go to work every day and have the opportunity to make a difference to people's lives. And there's not many people in the world that can say that they can do that, but you can, okay? But you know what you don't do well? You do not shout out about what you do, about the great things that you do as nurses. And often, nurses aren't valued because people don't understand what we do. Because, of course, all you do is leave that water glass 3 inches out of the reach of the elderly patient. So, the Academy of Fabulous Stuff is for you to talk about the fabulous stuff that you do. And the reason a nice girl like me is involved with an old reprobate like Roy Lilley, okay, risking my NMC registration on a daily basis, okay, is because of this. My current role is as head of education for the ostomy division for Coloplast, which is a colorectal and stoma care company. And I provide education to support specialist nurses. And I developed this website called the Apollo Nursing Resource. Standalone website, open to all nurses. Shows you how to do the things that we're not very good at demonstrating, about a job plan, about our service specifications, about the value of the things that we do. And Roy happened to see this one day and thought, well, this is a really great thing. This is showing the good stuff for specialist nurses, so let's get involved with the blonde and let's see if we can do the same in general. So I just wanted to flag up the Apollo Nursing resource. It does have very much a specialist nursing focus, but it's available for all of you to use. And we do have, I saw your previous session was on revalidation, and we do have on the website, you can see there's a big button, concerned about revalidation. Click on that, and we've produced templates for all of the key signposted areas of things you need to do. We've done it in conjunction with RCNI, produced it with them, and Jackie Smith, Chief Exec of the NMC, retweets about what a great resource it is for specialist nurses. So we're doing okay, and of course with our RCNI, we've got some great resources on there, so please feel free to have a browse and use those. But what is Fab NHS stuff all about? It's about sharing good stuff. It's about not reinventing the wheel. If somebody's doing something and has a solution to the problem that you have, we should share it and we should work differently. We should work together. So we have a really, really easy way to submit your Fab stuff. Okay, this is not 2,000 words. It doesn't have to be a randomized controlled trial, double-blinded. Okay, we want to make this as easy to submit your Fab stuff as if you're updating your Facebook page. And don't tell me you haven't all got a Facebook page and update it and share things on a regular basis. No, you haven't. Oh, okay. I'm going to look over here. Who has got a Facebook page over here? Thanks. Okay, so really it's very, very simple. You put in your title, you put up to 500 words. You can put 3 pictures in, and you can put any links to documents or websites or a video that you want. And you push the share button, and it comes to the back end of the computer of the website. And so it's very appropriate as a colorectal nurse that I do spend my entire life ferreting around the back end of Fab NHS stuff, where I will moderate your share and have great pleasure as a nurse in sharing the Fab stuff that you do. People look at Fab NHS stuff. They look for ideas. They look for solutions. And we have great nurse-led services. We have a search cloud, so you can click on mental health shares. Click on that. All the shares will come up on one page. You can click on cost efficiency savings, prevention of delayed discharge. We've got lots of different parameters. You click on those, and all of the solutions and shares for that one particular area will come up on one page. And as you can see, we take it all very seriously. It's important, the work that we're sharing, but we're sharing it in a way that makes it interactive and interesting to read, and not you get halfway through the first page and want to stick needles in your eyes. So it's interesting and engaging. Okay, and it has an impact. Okay, lots of people look at this. Okay, you can see the data here. We have it on very good authority that Simon Stevens, Chief Exec of NHS England, on a weekly basis has his advisor print off the homepage. So for that week, all of the new shares that go on are printed off in Simon Stevens. Because he's not been doing a lot of talking recently, we've also heard that Jeremy Hunt's special advisor prints this off. So he is very aware of all the new shares that go on here. So this is a huge opportunity for you to promote the fabulous services that you run. Okay? And why is this important? Because sharing makes a difference. So sharing a simple idea. So a small commissioning GP practice shared an idea of how they'd worked out that they could dovetail vaccinations. They'd worked out that people coming had their first jab, often didn't go back for the booster. So they were wasting money, and they had a population that wasn't fully covered because they hadn't gone back for the second. They worked with pharmaceutical industry and worked out there were a large number that they could actually dovetail, they could give at the same time. So they've rolled this out for their population of 10,000 people. high satisfaction, no DNA rate because they all get the same injection, both injections at the same time. And because it's one visit and 2 injections, the commissioners have got it £3 something per person cheaper. So for that CCG, that commissioning group, they've saved £30,000, which, you know, is not, when we've got to save, what is it, how many billion, Roy?
22 billion.
Okay, so 30,000 is a drop in the ocean, okay. They put this idea on Fab NHS staff, and within a week they had 160 telephone calls and email queries from other commissioners wanting the programme, and it's now being rolled out throughout the country. It's called the aggregation of minor gains. So the impact now and the saving for the NHS of this one share actually starts to make a huge difference, and that's how we're going to turn things around in our financial situation. So I have a very serious question to ask you all. Okay, will you be blonde? Okay. Because you need to be proud of what you do. It's okay to be proud about what you do. But will you be proud to be blonde? Will you leave here today all saying, we will be blonde? Okay. What does blonde stand for? What does the B in blonde stand for? Any guesses? Bold? Brave?
Belligerent.
You said you would mention that, Roy.
Honest.
Okay, blonde, B. Big it up. Big up what you do. We're terrible as nurses about bigging up what we do, okay? L. Little things matter. Because you know what? We all know it. The little things that we do in our service are the big things. So little things matter. O, huge opportunity to share and promote your work. N, never underestimate the importance of what you do and the importance of the impact of sharing your fab stuff. D, you're determined every single day to make a difference to your patients, and you do. So use that determination and show it. Share your work. And last but not least, E, energize other people. By sharing your fab stuff, you will energize your organisation, like the celebration that you're going to have later today. You'll energize it. You will do that nationally. By sharing your fab stuff, somebody else will find a solution to a problem that they've got, that you've found, and it will energise them. So, please, are we going to be blonde? Yes. Thank you.
That's the blonde, ladies and gentlemen, the blonde. Thanks. Okay, we're going to have to leave you now. I'm just going to let you know that we are putting our energy and effort into Change Day this year, which is on the 19th of October. No, which is on the 19th. I should have gone to Specsavers. It's who's taken part in Change Day here? We've got any Change Day people here? And no one ever taken part in Change Day? What a shame, because everybody takes part in Change Day, gets a free holiday in Jamaica, and it's too late now, love. No. And it's on film, Roy. Thanks. Yeah. Right. So, 19th of October, very important day, Change Day. This is your opportunity. So you've got 2 opportunities. One, tell us about your best practice on the Academy of Fabulous Stuff. Please do share it, right? Because, and if you've got a problem, go to the Academy first, because you may just find you've got an answer to your solution. So that's the first thing. Share your best stuff. Secondly, look out for October the 19th, Change Day, when we'll be running or helping to run Change Day this year, where you can all make a difference. You can all, if you all promise to change one thing and make a difference. Because we really do believe that real change in services can only come from the front line and the people who are actually doing the job. If you're doing something that works for you, the chances are in the other 200 hospitals there might be in the NHS, it'll work for them as well. So please share that. Please share that. So, okay, just leaves me now, please. I'm going to ask you to do just one thing, because it sounds very patronizing when someone like me comes along and says, you know what, you're doing a great job, and thank you for doing it. And it sounds patronizing, and I don't know of another way of saying, do you know what, you're doing a great job, and thank you for doing it. And this is probably the most difficult time I've ever seen in the NHS in all my years. There's no money, we're short of staff, we've got too many patients. The whole thing is really difficult. But it's an exciting time because it will take people like you to see us through this very difficult period. And if you're not going to see us through, then who's going to do it? So I want to say thank you to you for what you've done. And I want you all to do one thing for me. Would you all stand up, please? Would you stand up? Okay. Would you face that direction there? Face that direction there. And will you give the person in front of you a pat on the back and say, well done? And thank you. Would you stay standing? Would you stay standing, please? Because Terri has explained that she's very busy and she doesn't get out much, but she loves speaking and she loves talking to colleague nurses, specialist nurses and so on. But speaking at an event like this, I don't think she's ever had a standing ovation. So there we are. Thank you very much.